portion of Carver County.
All right. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. Love having you on the show. Let me ask you this. What were your expectations of the state when Governor Walz was coming in to give us, and it had a couple things. Keeping it 26 minutes long, way to go. I can go with shorter is better if you're going to do this. On the other hand, I was using if he goes against Trump, if that's the majority of this, he wants to run for president again. If he comes in and we'll tell you how great Minnesota is and how great it's going to be, he was going to go for governor. It seems like I got it wrong. He ripped Trump like nobody's business, but its last interview said something about he's raising money, to possibly go for governorship again. Can you give me your thoughts on the state of the state?
Well, it was a lot like in 2 years ago when he thought he was going to be running for president, and his state of the state, he was attacking Ron DeSantis pretty much the entire time, trying to make a contrast between Minnesota and Florida. And now this time he's trying to contrast himself between Donald Trump, who's, back then we didn't know if it was going to be Trump or DeSantis or whomever. And so it's clear to me that he still has aspirations for national office.
Sure. Okay. So, but as far as what he said, did it infuriate you? It was a waste of time. I guess I find it strange in the state of the state when you've been the governor for 6 years that everything is about what Orange Man did in the last 80 days and not what you have done in the last 6 years. It seemed misplaced.
I think what bothered me the most with the state of the state was he didn't bring up the deficit once. And didn't bring up that we are in this because of overspending, and didn't propose any solutions. I mean, that's what I was hoping to get out of it, is what are your plans to crawl us out of this financial hole that you've dug? And he didn't bring it up. He focused on national issues and on Trump. And I was really hoping to hear more about how he, as our leader of our state, was going to lead us into prosperity.
Well, and I got a couple. This just hit me today. Tell me if I'm off course. So he's upset that the president is going to get rid of the Department of Education. This is horrible. This is going to ruin children's lives. Everything is bad. Okay, you can believe that, but can you still believe then that last week when the Minnesota Department of Education comes out and says they're not going to follow the DEI stuff that the federal government said you had to do, so they will end up losing that funding for it? We have to have a Department of Education, but we're not going to listen to them, so we lose funding. Am I missing something?
The Department of Education is ruining people's lives right now when over 50% of Minnesota students cannot read at grade level. Your life is being ruined. Your ability to find work and go to school and make a better life for yourself is being ruined. And that doesn't even, the media always covers the reading scores. Our math scores are worse. Yeah. And when you start looking at students of color, I mean, that number is horrific. I mean, Mississippi outperforms us in that regard as far as their ability to teach their children how to properly read. The Department of Education is ruining lives now in his home state of Minnesota. So stop worrying about what's going on in DC and please focus on what's happening here. And you are not missing something. They are choosing to die on the Hill DEI and risk our students being even worse shape because we're risking federal funding.
Okay, fair enough. I just watched. Okay, so you're going to lose federal funding. You're saying things are down. You're going to blame the Orange Man, but you're just not following the rules that came out of the Department of Education because you want it. You just don't like the people running it, and the rules are attaching the money. It's like you can have it every which way but lose. Other things that came up today, and then we'll go to break early so we can talk about some other things. The Conference Committee on Free School, Education Committee was talking about they passed 2 years ago free school for illegal immigrants in the state of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And they also passed Minnesota Care for illegals in the state of Minnesota. They thought it'd be 7,000 people. It's 17,000 in the first 3 months. If you're looking at possibly this deficit coming up, last thing in, first things out, would you not consider these are things we could look at legitimately and say, $6 billion deficit, we got to stop giving away the free stuff to people we literally think shouldn't be here, but they couldn't do it. It was party line vote on all of those. There's no way we're going to get close to a balanced budget. They're not moving on some what I consider pretty easy things. No free college? Okay.
Correct. I was speaking to the Speaker of the House, and she said the feeling around the House right now is the House Democrats are unable to wrap their head around the fact that they are no longer in the majority. You have to
Yeah.
keep in mind a big chunk of their freshman class, brand new, have only known the majority.
Yeah.
And so now to be sitting in a tide and realizing you have to give up some things you want, they are really struggling with. And I don't see how House Republicans are going to move forward with crafting a budget without compromise on some of these issues. And so while we were talking offline, I think that we're moving at the speed of light right now in the Senate. But once, like you were saying, once we get to
Yeah.
the committee, that's where I'm going to start losing my hope for getting done on time because it's just there are some things people are unwilling to compromise, and I don't know how we're going to get there.
Well, that's kind of my point is you would think with as tight as everything is, even in the Senate, with as tight as all of this is, we would have more participation back and forth. But on these bills, on with the Senator Carla Nelson was on earlier, she put this no girls and girls sports, boys and boys sports thing, and on a party line vote. It's like, no, we're staying over here. I don't know that there's middle ground anymore. I find an 80-20 issue like boys and girls in separate sports. That's about what it is nationwide, 80-20. That not one Democrat on the other side would say, yeah, I got you here, and I'll vote for you. You know what I'm saying? It's almost unrealistic that we're not playing in a real world. We're playing two teams. It's offense and defense on everything.
It certainly feels that way, especially when we were last Thursday. I led the discussion on education policy. And I said publicly, I'm voting for this bill so I can get on the conference committee and continue to work with House Republicans to hash this out. And I spent all weekend getting attacked by my own party for giving that vote. And it's like, you guys, we have to be able to work together. And I hope to see more of that. I know that takes a lot of personal responsibility on my end to behave in that way and not, play that party politics game. But the people, I think when I go door knocking, that's what they ask for. Can you just get along? Can you just get along and get work done? And I hope to see that reflected in how they endorse their candidates, pick their candidates, and elect people moving forward.
So when you look at it, you making plans for the early part of June? Are you getting things signed up? And my point is, I don't see it on the House side, and they're so far apart from the Senate side. You guys working at lightning speed, you're going to get something done, and you're going to sit around. And then they're going to finally get something there. And then you go to conference committee, and you're all going to be sitting around because that is a very large chasm right now, the two budgets. What are you going to do? And can that come together, and how? And is it all done in conference committee so everybody can run and hide and say, well, it's what the four powers that be did?
Yeah, I'm still not making any plans for June.
Okay. That's so I'm saying. And do you know, and we've had her on a couple of times, Speaker of the House, Damon.
Oh, yeah, I am a big fan of hers. I hope she runs for governor. I'll be the first person to run her campaign.
Well, we're going to talk about that on the other side. Does she have what it takes to hold this line? And I don't mean that. Does she have the support from her side to hold the line? Because she said no new taxes. They raised taxes $10 billion when they had a $17 billion surplus. When they're down $6, you think that's not their go-to?
I trust Speaker Damon. She is, I can't say the word, but she is a bad, she is tough, and she is the right woman for the job.
Fantastic. We'll talk more about what's going on here with Senator Julia Coleman right after this. A bad pause. I like that.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
Dust from livestock buildings can be harmful to your animals and to you. Coughing animals can lead to costly vet visits and other serious health problems. Now there's an environmentally safe solution for your dust problems. It's called Dust Lock. Dust Lock can control the dust all summer long with just one application. Protect your animals and your health with Dust Lock. Learn more at dustlock.com.
amongst friends. The Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
Lucky to have her on with us. It's Senator Julia Coleman. And put on your I ran everything hat. The representative of the 2nd District, Craig, ends up, Angie, deciding she's going to run for that Senate seat that has been vacated by Smith. Now, a couple of quick things. Angie Craig raised $1.2 million last quarter, and she did not even tell anybody what she was running for. The Dems on that side love this woman. I mean, that's crazyville to me. She jumps in. I'm going to ask you, and I believe I'm correct, she's got to be the front runner for that on the Democratic side, right? You have Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who I think was the front runner. Senator Lopez Franzen gets in. I think that was going to be an interesting race. But with 1.2, Craig's got to be the leader on the Democratic side, right? I mean, wow.
I think that this race is going to follow the pattern that we've seen often from that side of the aisle, which is somebody's going to win the endorsement, and then the everyone knows is the front runner is going to end up winning in the primary. So, we saw Murphy win the endorsement, but Walz win the primary. We saw that with Mark Dayton as well. I think this is going to follow that pattern because keep in mind, Peggy Flanagan has locked up a lot of significant endorsements on the left, including Al Franken. And so she is, I think, the front runner for the endorsement, but Craig will wipe the floor with her in a primary. And then
Okay.
Incredibly tough to beat. I think statewide, she is their best bet. And so they don't necessarily abide by the endorsement as strictly as our side of the aisle does. It's more like a nice to have, and ours, it's a must have.
But it's interesting that I think Flanagan, I mean, if we were talking about it, she was talking about wanting to be governor when the governor is going to be the president. He doesn't get, or vice president, he doesn't get that job. So she decides to go to the Senate because it looks like he might come back, which now plays out, but now she's going to be second banana, and it's like, she loses out here, that shot at the governor. The governorship is still open. He hasn't announced, but it's presumed he's coming back, correct? I mean, that's what we're leaning on? Governor going to run?
Be surprised if he ran for a third term, and if he shocks everyone and chooses not to, I wouldn't be surprised to see some shuffling of the seats and see her or Craig move to that race, because they could both be at the top of the ticket and both have a good shot of winning in that regard. Can
you take money, if you're Flanagan's example, raising money to run for the Senate, she decides I'm going governor. Can that money switch with her? I don't even know if those does that. I don't have any idea. Maybe that's.
She can't switch. You can switch from like federal races. You can switch from Congress to U.S. Senate, like Angie Craig's done. But state, you cannot, unless she's been raising for some sort of hybrid super PAC. So it gets super complicated.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Now, let me throw this at you because this is what's bothering me. So we have a who's who on the Senate seat. Why would you not? Open Senate seat. So now you have Craig and you've got Flanagan and you've got Lopez Franzen. The CD2 seat is now open, and you see people throwing names out, Little and Mary Quaid. Or May Quaid and Pratt. I mean, you're seeing these names. You probably got the governor going for the governor's seat. Why do we not have any big name Republicans out there yet? And can they wait any longer? All the news is about the Democrats.
For CD2, there are a couple of Republican names being floated. So I know that the past candidates are both looking at it.
Kistner and...
Yep, and Ram are looking at it. I don't believe that Joe Tarab will be running. And then we also have some great A-team talent in the Senate. Senator Pratt is one of those, and Senator Duckworth lives out there as well. Yep. Now, I will personally chain them to their desks because I don't want to lose these brilliant men in the Senate, but they would be phenomenal candidates.
All right, and that's fair enough, but now that's just that House seat. What about the Senate seat? What about the governorship? My point is, it just seems we're so light in the bench. And are y'all just busy working at the Senate and the House now that you don't have time? We're wasting time. Craig's got $1.2 million sitting in the bank already.
Correct. We are busy working. You have to think about the fact that first quarter report that a candidate shows their strength. And so if somebody is stuck here, they don't want their first quarter report to be, flimsy dollar amount. I think you're going to see a lot of people, once we get their work done here, start throwing their hats into the ring.
Okay. And then, of course, I was arguing with somebody the other day about this at the golf course. I have never seen a better setup for the Republicans in probably my lifetime. I asked this, he's a staunch Democrat. Tell me in the state of Minnesota 3 things that you think are going really well right now. And we got a deficit problem coming staring us in the face. Education is not working the way we'd like it to work. Fraud is running around. I mean, I can list you for a Republican side all the issues. They all lean to what's gone on in the last 6 years isn't working. But yet his response to me is, oh, great, who's you going to run against us? And that name recognition is huge. And I just know where we're at on it. Am I wrong? The Republicans should feel this is the time to take all 5 of the statewide seats. Let's talk the Senate. Let's talk the House. And I don't get that feeling right now. I just don't.
I think that there's a lot of concern based on what's going out in Washington, because every single race gets tied to the federal government. I remember running for city council and being asked about federal policy and what was going on, what were in the headlines. And I have nothing to do with this. And so there's a lot of concern about, if these tariffs hurt as bad as we're hearing they're going to hurt, Republicans are going to have a hard time in 26, even if they're running for state auditor. And so I think people are kind of waiting to see how this plays out.
Wow, that's interesting. It's too bad. I get what you're saying, but at some point you got to get in the game and make it and try. That's what you've got it.
Go ahead.
Well, no, for those that in the business of doing that, you got to get in the game. You got to give it a shot because it's the only way to get the name recognition. We've been without a state-run person to win this state for so long. That's why the name recognition isn't there. I've got to fly.
We need a media personality. I'm gonna.
I don't know where you'd find one. A good one. You want a good one. Haven't had one since Jason Lewis, right? Mr. Right back in the day. I got to fly. I thank you for coming on. You always take time to be here, and you get all gussied up. See, that's how old I am. I use gussy. Thank you for getting gussied up for the show. If you want to see her, go to the Al Travis Show YouTube page and subscribe. Thank you, Senator.